vegetation, no food for a mammal to eat, nor water for a mammal to drink, for all mammal food was destroyed, and when the pure floods from heaven and the salt oceans of the earth mingled their waters and rose above the mountain tops, the result was a drink which no bird or beast of ordinary construction could use and live. But this combination was nuts for the Ornithorhynchus, if I may use a term like that without offense. Its river home had always been salted by the flood tides of the sea. On the face of the Noachian deluge innumerable forest trees were floating. Upon these the Ornithorhynchus voyaged in peace, voyaged from clime to clime, from hemisphere to hemisphere, in contentment and comfort, in virile interest in the constant change of scene, in humble thankfulness for its privileges, in ever-increasing enthusiasm in the development of the great theory upon whose validity it had staked its life, its fortunes, and its sacred honor, if I may use such expressions, without impropriety in connection with an episode of this nature. It lived the tranquil and luxurious life of a creature of independent means. Of things actually necessary to its existence and its happiness not a detail was wanting. When it wished to walk, it scrambled along the tree trunk, it mused in the shade of the leaves by day, it slept in their shelter by night. When it wanted the refreshment of a swim, it had it. It ate leaves when it wanted a vegetable diet, it dug under the bark for worms and grubs. When it wanted fish, it caught them. When it wanted eggs, it laid them. If the grubs gave out in one tree, it swam to another, and as for fish, the very opulence of the supply was an embarrassment. And finally, when it was thirsty, it smacked its chops in gratitude over a blend that would have slain a crocodile. When at last, after 13 months of travel and research in all the zones, it went aground on a mountain summit, it strode ashore, saying in its heart, "Let them that come after me invent theories and dream dreams about the survival of the fittest if they like, but I am the first that has done it." This wonderful creature dates back, like the kangaroo and many other Australian hydrocephalus invertebrates, to an age long anterior to the advent of man upon the earth. They date back, indeed, to a time when a causeway hundreds of miles wide and thousands of miles long joined Australia to Africa, and the animals of the two countries were alike, and all belonged to that remote geological epoch known to science as the Old Red Grindstone Post-Plesiosaurian. Later the causeway sank under the sea. Subterranean convulsions lifted the African continent 1,000 feet higher than it was before, but Australia kept her old level. In Africa's new climate the animals necessarily began to develop and shade off into new forms and families and species, but the animals of Australia as necessarily remained stationary, and have so remained until this day. In the course of some millions of years the African Ornithorhynchus developed and developed and developed, and sloughed off detail after detail of its make-up, until at last the creature became wholly disintegrated and scattered. Whenever you see a bird or a beast or a seal or an otter in Africa, you know that he is merely a sorry surviving fragment of that sublime original of whom I have been speaking, that creature which was everything in general, and nothing in particular, the opulently endowed e pluribus unum of the animal world. Such is the history of the most hoary, the most ancient, the most venerable creature that exists in the earth today, Ornithorhynchus platypus extraordinariensis, whom God preserve. When he was strongly moved, he could rise and soar like that with ease, and not only in the prose form, but in the poetical as well. He had written many pieces of poetry in his time, and these manuscripts he lent around among the passengers, and was willing to let them be copied. It seemed to me that the least technical one in the series, and the one which reached the loftiest note perhaps, was this: Invocation. Come forth from thy oozy couch, O Ornithorhynchus dear, and greet with a cordial claw the stranger that longs to hear from thy own lips the tale of thy origin all unknown, thy misplaced bone where flesh should be, and flesh where should be bone, and fishy fin where should be paw, and beaver trowel tail, and snout of beast equipped with teeth where gills ought to prevail. Come, kangaroo, the good and true, foreshortened as to legs, and body tapered like a churn, and sac marsupial efegs, and tells us why you linger here, thou relic of a vanished time, when all your friends as fossils sleep, immortalized in lime. Perhaps no poet is a conscious plagiarist, but there seems to be warrant for suspecting that there is no poet who is not at one time or another an unconscious one. The above verses are indeed beautiful, and in a way touching, but there is a haunting something about them which unavoidably suggests the sweet singer of Michigan. It can hardly be doubted that the author had read the works of that poet and been impressed by them. It is not apparent that he has borrowed from them any word or yet any phrase, but the style and swing and mastery and melody of the sweet singer all are there. Compare this invocation with Frank Dutton, particularly stanzas 1st and 17th, and I think the reader will feel convinced that he who wrote the one had read the other. 1. Frank Dutton was as fine a lad as ever you wish to see, and he was drowned in Pine Island Lake, on earth no more will he be. His age was near 15 years, and he was a motherless boy. He was living with his grandmother when he was drowned, poor boy. 17. He was drowned on Tuesday afternoon, on Sunday he was found, and the tidings of that drowned boy was heard for miles around. His form was laid by his mother's side, beneath the cold, cold ground. His friends for him will drop a tear when they view his little mound. The Sentimental Song Book, by Mrs. Julia Moore, page 36. End of chapter 8.